Welcome to today's deep dive. And get this, we're going to be talking about a musical artist named TATANKA who created an album inspired by the Tao Te Ching.
Wow.
And they used AI as like a collaborator in the
Oh,
process.
wow. That's fascinating.
Mhm.
You have this ancient Chinese text exploring balance and harmony and the natural order of the universe. And
Right.
it has been reinterpreted through like the lens of modern AI technology.
It's really interesting. And TATANKA actually first tried to make this album back in 1988,
Oh, wow.
but lost the recordings.
Wow.
So decades later, they're revisiting this vision, but this time with AI by their side.
That's really interesting. A second chance at this project. It really speaks to the enduring power of both the Tao Te Ching and Tatanka's original vision.
Absolutely. So how did they use AI to pull this off? We're talking about a text that's notoriously difficult to translate, let alone set to music.
Well, Tatanka used several different AI tools.
Okay.
They used Suno.com to generate the music based on specific prompts and descriptions. So it's like giving the AI a musical blueprint derived from the Tao Te Ching.
So I'm picturing TATANKA feeding the AI verses about the Tao, and then boom, out come music that captures the essence of those words.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just creating a soundscape.
Okay.
Tatanka also used Meta AI, Microsoft Copilot, and Google Gemini to triple-check the accuracy and authenticity of the music and the text.
So they're not just relying on the AI blindly. They're using it as a tool, as a collaborator, but still maintaining creative control over the entire project.
Precisely. Which is crucial when you're dealing with the text as nuanced and layered as the Tao Te Ching, especially since they based the album on Stephen Mitchell's 5-part translation.
Ah, Mitchell's translation. It's known for its poetic sensibility, but it's still a challenging text to grasp fully.
Right.
How did TATANKA approach translating those abstract concepts into something musically tangible?
That's where the AI's analytical power really comes into play.
Okay.
It helped Tatanka analyze Mitchell's translation and identify key themes and poetic devices that could be translated into music.
So the AI wasn't just churning out melodies, it was helping to deconstruct and understand the very essence of the text.
Exactly. And that deep understanding is reflected in the unique musical style Tatanka chose. It's described as ethereal ambient, with a mix of Chinese instruments like the 𝗧𗓐𝗞𝗔 and erhu, along with piano and soft vocals.
Now, ethereal ambient, for those of us who aren't musical experts, paint us a picture. What does that sound like?
Imagine music that's spacious, atmospheric, almost otherworldly.
Okay.
Think about the sounds of nature, wind rustling through leaves, water flowing over rocks, combined with electronic textures and delicate melodies. That's the essence of the ethereal ambient.
I'm already feeling a sense of tranquility just hearing you describe it.
Yeah.
It sounds like the perfect genre to capture the meditative and philosophical nature of the Tao Te Ching.
And the instrumentation adds another layer of depth.
Okay.
The 𝗧𗓐𝗞𝗔 and erhu are traditional Chinese instruments, each with its unique sound and symbolism. The 𝗧𗓐, for example, is a 7-string zither that has been played for over 3,000 years and is associated with scholars and philosophers.
Wow, so they're weaving together ancient sounds and modern styles to create something truly unique.
And there's a really interesting detail about the instrumentation.
Oh.
It's primarily ambient throughout most of the album, but at the end of the final track, the 𝗧𗓐𝗞𝗔 and erhu take center stage.
Wow.
It's like a sonic representation of returning to the source, to the essence of the Tao.
I love that. It's like the music itself is guiding us on a journey through the Tao Te Ching. But let's talk about the text itself. How did TATANKA handle the actual lyrics? Because we're talking about classical Chinese, which is vastly different from modern Chinese.
That's right. It's like trying to set Shakespearean English to music.
Right.
But TATANKA was determined to stay as true to the original as possible. So the album features verses in classical Chinese followed by English translations, which I think adds a really cool layer to the listening experience.
I imagine hearing those ancient words sung in their original language must be incredibly powerful, even if you don't understand the literal meaning. It's like tapping into the ancient energy of the text itself.
Exactly. And TATANKA didn't just randomly choose verses.
Okay.
They drew inspiration from various forms of classical Chinese poetry, like Shi, Qi, and Fu.
Okay.
Qi poetry, for example, is known for its strict structure and rhyme schemes, while Xi's more lyrical and musical Fu is longer and more descriptive, often used for grand narratives.
It sounds like TATANKA was carefully considering the musicality of the language itself, choosing verses that lent themselves well to being sung and accompanied by music.
They were very intentional about it. And remember, they were working with Mitchell's 5-part structure,
Right.
which breaks down the Tao Te Ching into thematic sections: the nature of the Tao, the world and its ways, advice to rulers, living in harmony, and returning to the source.
So they're not just setting random verses to music, they're creating a musical journey that mirrors the structure and philosophy of the Tao Te Ching.
Precisely. Each section of the album corresponds to a specific part of Mitchell's translation, taking the listener on a sonic exploration of the Tao Te Ching's core themes.
I'm ready to embark on that journey. Let's dive into the first section, the nature of the Tao. What can you tell me about how this section sets the stage for the entire album?
This section covers the first 16 chapters of the Tao Te Ching and introduces the fundamental concept of the Tao itself.
Okay.
It explores the idea of the Tao as this ultimate reality, the source of all things, but also something that's beyond our full comprehension.
It's like trying to grasp the concept of infinity, right? It's vast, unknowable, yet it's the very foundation of everything that exists.
It is, and there are some incredibly evocative verses in this section that TATANKA highlights musically. For instance, there's chapter 1, which states, "The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao."
Wow, that's a powerful statement. It's like saying that any attempt to define or explain the Tao ultimately falls short. It's something that must be experienced, not just understood intellectually.
Exactly. And chapter 4 further explores this idea. The Tao is empty, yet its usefulness is inexhaustible.
Empty yet inexhaustible. I'm intrigued. What does that tell us about the nature of the Tao?
It speaks to the Tao's boundless potential. It's not about nothingness. It's about the state of pure potentiality from which all things arise. It's the fertile void, the source of endless creativity and possibility.
It's like saying that the Tao is the ultimate blank canvas, and from that blank canvas, the entire universe unfolds.
Precisely. And then there's chapter 14, which emphasizes the Tao's elusive nature. Looked at, but cannot be seen. Listened to, but cannot be heard.
So it's beyond our senses, beyond our usual ways of perceiving the world. How did TATANKA translate that idea musically?
That's where the ethereal ambient style really shines.
Okay.
TATANKA uses subtle, almost imperceptible sounds, delicate melodies that seem to emerge from silence and spacious arrangements that create a sense of vastness and mystery.
It's like the music is inviting us to listen beyond the surface, to attune our senses to something deeper, something that transcends our ordinary perception.
Exactly. And that's just the first section. The journey continues in the next part of the album, The World and Its Ways, where we'll explore how the Tao manifests in the natural world and its patterns.
I'm already hooked. Before we move on, though, I'm curious. You mentioned the ethereal ambient genre, but did TATANKA elaborate on why they chose that specific style for this project? What drew them to that sound?
They talk about wanting to create a sonic landscape that reflects the Taoist principles of simplicity, harmony, and balance. The music is meant to evoke a sense of tranquility and contemplation, just like the Tao Te Ching itself.
That makes sense. It's not music that's meant to grab your attention or get you pumped up. It's music designed to create space for reflection, to allow the listener to sink into the wisdom of the text.
Exactly. It's about creating an atmosphere that encourages deep listening and contemplation.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into the next section and see how the journey unfolds.
Let's do it. The second part of the album, The World and Its Ways, takes us deeper into the Tao's manifestation in the natural world and its patterns.
Okay, so we're back and ready to explore the next section of TATANKA's The Tao Te Ching album.
Right.
And this one's called The World and Its Ways, and sounds like we're moving from like that abstract concept of the Tao to its like tangible expression in the world around us.
Exactly. This section draws on chapters 17 through 27 of Mitchell's translation, and it focuses on how the Tao manifests in nature and in the cycles of life, the ebb and flow of energy, the interconnectedness of all things.
Okay, so it's getting a little more grounded, a little more relatable.
Yeah.
What are some of the key themes that emerge in this section, both philosophically and musically?
Well, one of the central themes is this idea of cyclical change. The constant interplay of creation and destruction, growth and decay.
I mean, that's a concept that resonates across cultures and throughout history. The cycle of seasons, the birth and death of stars, even the rise and fall of civilizations.
Exactly. And the Tao Te Ching reminds us that this cycle isn't something to fear,
Right.
but rather a natural part of existence. It's something to be embraced.
I'm curious how TATANKA captures that musically. Does the music itself have a cyclical feel to it?
It does. You'll notice recurring motifs, melodies that reappear in different forms throughout the section. There's a sense of ebb and flow moments of quiet contemplation, followed by surges of energy,
Oh, okay.
much like the cycles we see in nature.
So it's like the music is mirroring the very patterns it's describing.
Precisely. And TATANKA uses instrumentation to enhance this effect.
Oh, how so?
You'll hear delicate sounds that evoke the fragility of new life, followed by more robust and powerful sounds that suggest growth and expansion.
You mentioned earlier that the 𝗧𝗕𝗓 is often associated with scholars and philosophers. Does that instrument play a prominent role in this section?
It does. You'll hear it woven throughout this section. Its resonant tones adding a sense of depth and contemplation.
It's like the Greek's presence is grounding the music, connecting it to the ancient wisdom of the Tao Te Ching.
Exactly. And speaking of ancient wisdom, one of the most well-known verses from this section is chapter 17. The best leaders are those whose existence is barely known.
Wow. That's a powerful statement, especially in a world that often equates leadership with dominance and visibility.
It is, and it's a core principle of Taoist leadership.
Okay.
Leading through subtle influence, through aligning oneself with the Tao rather than imposing one's will upon the world.
So it's that idea of leading by example, by embodying the qualities you wish to see in others.
Precisely. And I think this verse ties in beautifully with the musical theme of cyclical change.
Yeah.
You know, a good leader doesn't try to control the cycle. They understand it, they flow with it, and they guide others through it with wisdom and compassion.
So it's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things, understanding that we're all part of this larger cycle, and acting in a way that benefits the whole rather than just the individual.
Exactly. And this idea of interconnectedness is further explored in chapter 22.
Oh, okay.
It says, know the masculine, but keep to the feminine.
The balance of opposites, the interplay of yin and yang. It's a concept that's central to Taoist philosophy.
It is. And it's not just about gender roles. It's about recognizing the complementary forces that exist within all of us and in the world around us. It's about finding harmony and balance between seemingly opposing forces.
And I imagine that balance is reflected in music as well.
It is. TATANKA carefully blends different sonic elements, high and low tones, soft and powerful sounds, moments of expansion and contraction to create a sense of dynamic equilibrium.
It's like the music itself is a microcosm of the Tao, a reflection of the harmonious interplay of opposites that governs the universe.
That's a beautiful way to put it, and I think that's what makes this section of the album so powerful. It's not just about listening to music, it's about experiencing the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching through sound, through feeling those principles resonate within your own being.
So it's a full-body experience, a way of engaging with these ancient ideas on a deeper, more intuitive level. But before we get too zen here, I have to ask, did TATANKA talk about any specific challenges in translating these concepts into music? Because it's one thing to grasp the idea of yin and yang intellectually, but how do you actually convey that through sound?
They did mention it. They talked about how the AI played a crucial role in this process. You know, it wasn't just about setting words to music. It was about finding sonic metaphors, musical textures, and arrangements that captured the essence of those concepts.
So it's like the AI was helping to bridge the gap between the abstract and the concrete, between the philosophical and the musical.
Exactly. It was a true collaboration, a fusion of human creativity and technological innovation.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this project so unique and groundbreaking.
It's pushing the boundaries of what's possible in music, using technology to explore ancient wisdom in a way that's both innovative and deeply moving. All right, I'm ready for the next leg of our journey. What does the third section of the album, Advice to Rulers, have in store for us?
This section shifts the focus from the natural world to the realm of human governance. It draws on chapters 28 through 43 of the Tao Te Ching and explores how leaders can govern in accordance with the Tao, emphasizing qualities like humility, simplicity, and the power of wu-wei, non-action.
Okay, I'm already intrigued. Non-action as a leadership principle seems counterintuitive, especially in a world that often rewards assertiveness and control.
It is, but it's not about being passive or inactive. It's about aligning oneself with the natural flow of things, about acting with effortless ease and wisdom.
It's about understanding that sometimes the most effective action is no action at all, that sometimes the best way to lead is to simply create space for things to unfold naturally.
Exactly. And I think TATANKA beautifully captures this idea musically.
Oh, how so?
You'll notice a shift in the sonic landscape. There's a sense of spaciousness, a letting go of control, a trust in the underlying harmony of the universe.
So it's like the music itself is embodying the principle of wu-wei.
It is. And one of the key verses in this section is chapter 28, which states, know the strength of the male, but keep to the gentleness of the female.
Back to the balance of opposites. So it's not about suppressing one force or another. It's about finding the harmonious interplay between seemingly opposing qualities.
Exactly. And in the context of leadership, it suggests that true strength lies not in dominance, but in the ability to balance assertiveness with compassion, to lead with both a firm hand and a gentle heart.
So it's about leading with both wisdom and empathy, understanding that true power comes from aligning oneself with the Tao, not from imposing one's will upon the world.
Precisely. And Chapter 30 further emphasizes this point: do not use force to control.
It's a powerful message, especially for those in positions of authority. It suggests that true leadership isn't about coercion or manipulation. It's about inspiring others to follow willingly, to align themselves with a shared vision.
Exactly, and this section of the album really drives that point home. The music itself feels effortless, flowing almost like a gentle breeze guiding you along a path. There's a sense of trust, of letting go, of allowing things to unfold naturally.
It sounds like the perfect sonic metaphor for the concept of wu-wei.
It is, and I think it's a testament to TATANKA's ability to translate these complex philosophical ideas into something musically tangible and emotionally resonant.
This is just incredible. I'm so captivated by how TATANKA is weaving together ancient wisdom, modern technology, and their own artistic vision to create something so unique and powerful.
It is truly remarkable, and we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Oh, wow.
There's still so much more to explore in the remaining 2 sections of the album, where we'll delve into the realms of personal harmony and returning to the source.
All right, lead the way. I'm eager to see where this sonic journey takes us next. But before we move on, I'm curious, you mentioned that the AI helped TATANKA to find sonic metaphors for these philosophical concepts. Can you give me a specific example of how they did that? What does wu-wei actually sound like in this album?
That's a great question. One way TATANKA conveys wu-wei is through the use of space and silence in the music. Instead of constantly filling every moment with sound, they allow for pauses, for moments of quiet contemplation. This creates a sense of ease, of non-striving, of allowing things to unfold naturally.
So it's like the music itself is breathing, creating a sense of spaciousness and tranquility that reflects the principle of non-action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they also use subtle shifts in tempo and dynamics. Instead of abrupt changes or jarring transitions, the music flows smoothly, organically, almost like water finding its own level.
No, I like that. It makes perfect sense. The Tao Te Ching often compares the Tao to water, emphasizing its fluidity, its adaptability, its ability to overcome obstacles without force.
Precisely. So in a way, this section of the album is like a sonic meditation on the nature of water, reflecting its qualities of effortless movement, gentle persistence, and yielding strength.
Okay, I'm officially blown away by the level of thought and artistry that has gone into this project. It's truly inspiring.
It is. And it's a reminder of the power of music to not only entertain, but to also enlighten, to challenge our thinking, and to connect us to deeper truths.
All right, I'm ready to continue our exploration. What awaits us in the 4th section of the album, Living in Harmony?
This section takes us on a more inward journey, focusing on how to cultivate balance and harmony within ourselves. It encompasses chapters 44 through 61 of the Tao Te Ching and emphasizes themes like self-awareness, adaptability, and non-attachment.
So we're moving from the realm of leadership and governance to the realm of personal growth and inner peace.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about applying the principles of the Tao Te Ching to our own lives, our own inner landscapes.
I'm ready to delve deeper into this inner landscape. What sonic treasures await us in this section of the album?
We'll notice a shift in the music towards a more introspective feel.
Okay.
The tempos are slower, the melodies more contemplative.
It's like the music is inviting us to turn our attention inward, to become more aware of our own thoughts, feelings, and sensations.
Precisely. And one of the key verses that TATANKA highlights in this section is from chapter 45. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom.
That's one of my favorites. It's a reminder that the journey of self-discovery is just as important as understanding the world around us.
It is. And in the context of this album, I think it suggests that true harmony begins within. It's about understanding our own nature, our strengths and weaknesses, our desires and fears.
And once we understand ourselves, we can then begin to create harmony in our relationships, our work, and all aspects of our lives.
Exactly. And this idea of self-awareness is beautifully reflected in the music.
Oh, how so?
TATANKA uses subtle variations in tone and texture to create a sense of introspection, of looking inward.
It's like the music is providing a sonic mirror, reflecting our own inner landscape back to us.
And that reflection can be both beautiful and challenging. It can help us to see ourselves more clearly, to identify areas where we might be out of balance, to recognize patterns that are no longer serving us.
So it's about using the music as a tool for self-discovery, for becoming more aware of our own inner workings.
Exactly. And this process of self-discovery can be uncomfortable at times, but it's ultimately liberating. It allows us to let go of limiting beliefs, to break free from unhealthy patterns, and to create a life that's more aligned with our true nature.
Okay, I'm ready to dive even deeper into this process of self-discovery. What other sonic gems await us in this section of the album?
Well, another key theme that emerges is the idea of adaptability and non-attachment, which is beautifully captured in chapter 50. The sage has no fixed heart.
So it's about being open to change, not clinging to rigid beliefs or expectations.
Yeah.
How does TATANKA translate that concept musically?
You'll notice a fluidity in the music, a sense of movement and change. The melodies flow seamlessly into one another, the rhythm shifts subtly, the
Yeah.
sonic landscape is constantly evolving.
It's like the music itself is embodying the principle of adaptability, of flowing with the currents of life rather than resisting them.
Exactly. And this idea of non-attachment is also reflected in the instrumentation. You'll hear instruments appearing and disappearing, their sounds blending and separating, creating a sense of impermanence and constant change.
It's like the music is reminding us that everything is in flux, that nothing is permanent, and that true freedom lies in letting go of our attachment to things.
And that can be a challenging concept to grasp, especially in a world that often encourages us to cling to possessions, to identities, to beliefs.
It is, but I think that's what makes this section of the album so powerful. It's inviting us to step outside of our comfort zones, to embrace the unknown, to trust in the process of life unfolding.
It's a call to surrender, to let go of the illusion of control, and to allow ourselves to be guided by something larger than ourselves.
Okay, I'm officially feeling both inspired and a little bit terrified, but in a good way. This music is really pushing me to think differently, to question my assumptions, and to consider new possibilities.
And that's the beauty of it. It's not just about passive listening. It's about active engagement, about allowing the music to spark something within you, to ignite a process of transformation.
All right, I'm ready for the final leg of our journey. What awaits us in the last section of the album, Returning to the Source?
This section is the culmination of the entire journey, the final chapter in our sonic exploration of the Tao Te Ching. It encompasses chapters 62 through 81 and focuses on the idea of returning to that state of oneness with the Tao that we talked about earlier.
So it's like coming full circle, returning to that state of pure potential, of perfect harmony, of being fully aligned with the Tao.
Exactly. And musically, you'll notice a sense of completion, of resolution, of coming home.
I'm eager to hear how TATANKA expresses that musically. What sonic surprises await us in this final section? Okay, so we're back now to explore the final part of this album, Returning to the Source.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're really coming full circle.
Yeah.
Like back to that idea of oneness with the Tao from the beginning.
Exactly. This section covers the last part of Mitchell's translation, chapters 62 through 81, and it really emphasizes the idea of letting go of attachments, embracing simplicity, and ultimately returning to that state of pure potential,
Right.
where everything comes from.
It sounds like a real journey of transformation, both musically and philosophically. What are some of the sonic highlights that TATANKA uses to convey these themes?
One of the things you'll notice is a sense of spaciousness and tranquility in the music.
Okay.
The tempos are slower, the melody's more ethereal, and the overall feeling is one of deep peace and serenity.
It's like the music itself is inviting us to just let go, to surrender to the flow of the Tao, and find that stillness within ourselves.
Precisely. And one of the key verses that TATANKA highlights in this section is from chapter 64. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Ah, that's a classic. It's a reminder that even the most daunting tasks, the most profound transformations begin with a single, simple action.
And in the context of this album, I think it speaks to the idea that returning to the source isn't about some grand mystical experience.
Right.
It's about those small everyday choices, those moments of awareness, those tiny steps that we take to align ourselves to the Tao.
So it's about cultivating a sense of mindfulness in our daily lives, paying attention to those subtle nudges from the universe, making choices that lead us back to that state of harmony and balance.
Exactly. And this idea is beautifully reflected in the music. You'll notice subtle shifts in the music, almost imperceptible changes in melody or rhythm that gradually build towards a sense of resolution and completion.
So it's like the music itself is embodying that journey of returning to the source.
Yeah.
Step by tiny step, moment by moment.
Exactly. And there's another verse from this section that I find particularly powerful.
Oh, which one?
It's from chapter 71. To know yet, to think that one does not know is best.
Ooh, that's a good one. It reminds us about humility and recognizing that there are limits to our knowledge and being open to learning and growing.
And in the context of this album, I think it speaks to the idea that returning to the source isn't about achieving some kind of perfect understanding or enlightenment. It's about recognizing that the Tao is ultimately unknowable.
Yeah.
That the more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know.
So it's about embracing that mystery, the unknown, the infinite possibilities that exist within the Tao.
Exactly. And this sense of mystery is beautifully reflected in the music. There are moments of ambiguity, of unresolved tension, of sonic exploration that leaves space for the listener to fill in the gaps with their own interpretation.
It's like the music is inviting us to participate in the creative process to co-create the meaning of the album alongside TATANKA.
And I think that's what makes this final section so powerful. It's not just about listening to music. It's about experiencing a profound transformation, about embarking on our own personal journey of returning to the source.
This whole album has been such an incredible journey. It's amazing to think that something as ancient and seemingly esoteric as the Tao Te Ching can be reinterpreted in such a fresh and engaging way, through the lens of modern technology.
It is, and I think it speaks to the enduring power of the Tao Te Ching's wisdom. These principles of balance, harmony, and living in accordance with nature are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago.
And TATANKA has really given us a new way to access that wisdom, to experience it on a deeper level through the power of music.
Exactly, and it's not just about the music itself.
Right.
This project has sparked a broader conversation about the intersection of art technology and ancient wisdom.
Oh, that's really cool. You mentioned earlier that there are other projects in the works that are using AI to reinterpret ancient texts.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about those?
Well, there's a project underway that's using AI to create music based on the ancient Indian texts, the Upanishads.
Okay.
They explore the nature of reality, consciousness, and the self.
Yeah.
So I imagine the music will be equally profound and mind-expanding.
Wow, I can't wait to hear it. And what about other forms of art beyond music? Are there projects using AI to reimagine ancient wisdom in other ways?
Absolutely. There are projects using AI to create stunning visual art inspired by ancient mythology. Others using AI to generate poetry based on classical literature, and even projects exploring the use of AI in dance and theater.
It's like we're on the cusp of a new renaissance.
Right.
Where technology is being used to not just recreate the past, but to reimagine it, to make it relevant and accessible to modern audiences.
And that's what's so exciting about this moment in time. We have this incredible opportunity to bridge the gap between the past and the present, to connect with the wisdom of our ancestors in new and innovative ways.
And TATANKA's The Tao Te Ching is a perfect example of what's possible when we embrace the potential of technology to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that art has the power to transcend time and space, to connect us to something larger than ourselves, and to inspire us to live more meaningful and fulfilling lives.
This has been such an insightful and thought-provoking deep dive. I feel like I've not only gained a deeper understanding of the Tao Te Ching, but I've also expanded my awareness of the incredible possibilities that exist at the intersection of art technology and ancient wisdom.
Me too. And I think that's a perfect note to end our exploration on.
Yes. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. If AI can help us to reimagine ancient wisdom, what other seemingly impossible things might become possible? What other boundaries can we break? What other connections can we forge? What other stories can we tell?
It's a question worth pondering. The future is full of possibilities, and it's up to us to shape it with wisdom, creativity, and a deep respect for the past, present, and future.
Well said. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into TATANKA's The Tao Te Ching. We hope this journey has inspired you to explore the intersection of art technology and ancient wisdom in your own life. Until next time, keep those minds open and keep diving deep.